All right, you're good to go.
Okay, 7 PM, November 19th, 2024 in City Hall. 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Time to call the City of Torrington and the Wetlands Commission to order. Serving on the commission this evening are members Christine Altman, Adrian Barb, Joe Paganini, myself, Jay Bate. Also present is Nate Nardi Cyrus, Inland Wetlands Enforcement Officer and Assistant City Planner. Next is minutes for approval for the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting.
And to accept the minutes for the regular meeting October 8th, 2024.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next is old business applicant City of Torrington, location Sawmill Hill Road. Activity culvert replacement and road repair.
So city, the engineer presented at the last meeting. He didn't come today, but he did send pictures. The work is complete if you want to take a look at it. Just got a little cart before the horse here, but everything complies with my final inspection of it. So, recommend approval with standard conditions.
Okay. Anybody want to see it?
I move that we grant the application for the city of Torrington for Sawmill Hill Road for culvert replacement and road repair.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next applicant, City of Torrington, locations Church Street, bridge and road repair.
Same thing with the engineer on this. So just a little bit of a summary. This is for Church Street. They're going to do some modifications to the bridge. There's two different designs that they're offering up as a part of the big package. The preferred option does not require any disturbance or wetland permitting. This is a secondary design in which they'd have to install coffer dams and isolate the work where the footings are. So, recommendation to approve with standard conditions on this as well.
Okay, I move that we grant the application for the city of Torrington for Church Street bridge and road repair with standard conditions.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next applicant, Jonathan Miller, location 2480 Newfield Road, assessor map 230, block 001, lot 001. Activity is relocation of storm piping connected to a 15-inch RCP originating across Newfield Road.
So this was an application as a part of an enforcement action. There was a kind of an emergency sort of runoff, piping of runoff coming off of the road. But when they so they came in to get a permit for that discharge, which was built well, and I think everyone agreed with it, except that it ran over the reserve area of a septic system that they required to build, as their existing system is failing right now. So there's kind of a public health component with the failing septic system as well. So we met on site with the Torrington Area Health after the last meeting, and everyone agreed that either the system would have to be redesigned or the drainage pipe would have to be replaced, just because of that conflict there. And so I followed up with Jonathan Miller, who is representing the applicant from Nickerson. They have a meeting with an engineer this week, and they're looking at redesigning the septic. They may be looking at a little bit of a tweaking of both to like shrink down the septic system with a new gallery for infiltration and then modify the route of the pipe. So I kind of went through the timeline with them. They have until February 4th for us to make a decision here. So they're probably going to ask for their full extension because they have to do their redesign plans, but they are working on it, and they said that they should have an update by December.
Do we just table it or we do nothing?
I think you can table it. It doesn't. The application was accepted at the last meeting, and there was a determination of no significance because it is kind of a corrective restoration measure. So you can just take a motion to table. Probably the safest.
All right, I move that we table the application for Jonathan Miller. What's the number on Newfield Road?
2480.
2480 Newfield Road, 230-001-001 for relocation of some type.
Have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, next, new business. Applicant AJK LLC, location 3350 Winston Road, Assessor Map 242, Block 003, Lot 001. Activity, report to commission regarding wetlands mapping and restoration.
Members of the commission, I'm Attorney David Sherwood. I have an office at 2230 Main Street, Glastonbury. I represent AJK LLC, which is the recipient or was the recipient of a cease and correct order dated September 5th, 2024, which is why we're here. In response to the cease and correct, AJK engaged Clint Webb, who's with us virtually, and associate Ian Cole was a soil scientist and a wetland scientist also. Ian went out to the site in October and has now flagged the entire north end of the site. Flags are numbered 1 through 55. He prepared a brief report and a sketch of the wetlands boundary, which I'm going to give you shortly. We went out to the property with, on November 5th with Nate and Jeremy, and Ian was there, and Wes was there with us, and walked the site. Some of us walked more of it than others. And I think I'll let Nate speak for himself, but I think they were generally satisfied with what was going on. And essentially the area of current activity is outside of the flagged wetlands. And we anticipate being able to complete the delineation of the site. In other words, the south end of the site by January. We hope sooner, but certainly by January, which is when it was promised. So I have Mr. Cole's resume. 5 of these. Passing down, please. Okay, how do you make it short?
Yeah.
And this is the report. Are you there?
Thank you.
The reason I gave you his resume is because if you know him, he's kind of an unassuming guy, but he's really quite qualified. And then this is the sketch, which obviously we're gonna have to provide a plan with the flag survey. This will give you some idea. There's 3 of those. And essentially what Ian concludes is that this is a site which is, he has gone through a lot of aerial photographs dating back to 1934. And this is a site which has been excavated since, I think, since 1950. And the excavation went on through, I think, through the 80s and 90s. And then there was a period when the excavation stopped and it started to revegetate. And then AJK came in and is using the site for recycling. They're not doing any excavating. And the area that they are operating in is basically, I don't think the technical term is hard pan, but it's the equivalent of concrete. It's been packed down for so many years by machines. And he found a wetlands boundary, but outside of there's like a plateau and then there's a drop off and then there's the wetlands. So he doesn't think that the current activity is having any, the activity that's taking place now is having any impact on the wetlands. He did recommend there's an area, I guess it's to the west of the, no, it'd be the east of the northern end of the site, where he thinks some restorative activity should be undertaken. There's piles of rocks which have been pushed towards the wetlands boundary. And we talked about whether or not it makes sense to remove the rocks, because if you remove the rocks, then you're gonna destabilize the area. But so I don't think a decision was made, but we will make a recommendation, or he will make a recommendation when we finish the delineation and provide you with a plan. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask for a wetlands boundary amendment,
Mhm.
so that we have the wetlands for this site down for prosperity. I talked to the scientist who flagged the wetlands for the Leonard plan, which was from 1990, George Mallia.
Mhm.
And he's an old timer like me. He was very nice. I think he's retired and he may be doing some work, but he has no records. He said he recalled doing the work, but he said he recalled flagging, but he didn't recall a map. And I asked him if it was all right to tell you that, and he said yes. And then I also contacted I contacted SLR, which did the delineation for the PAC plan. There was I don't know if you have seen it or not, but there was a plan that was done for a development that was being considered at the
Mhm.
site recently this past year. And although that plan says that the wetlands were delineated, I spoke to the soil scientist who was out there, and she said that they used GPS, that they didn't
Right.
actually flag the wetlands. Ian didn't find any flags, so I think, I think it's about time we had
Yeah.
a delineation
Okay.
on record.
Is that what the old,
Right, so
Okay, yeah.
I guess just for context too, for everyone, this was, the reason that this was brought up in the first place was that when AJK was applying to renew their existing permit, this was the flagged boundary according to the Leonard plan that George Mallia did. And that's why there was clearly concern on our part, thinking that if this is what it used to look like, then clearly there had been some filling done here. Being on site and looking through some of the aerial photos, I do agree. I mean, the limits of disturbance for, let me just turn off this distracting layer. The limits of disturbance for the original mine operation here, it seems pretty apparent in the field, extend out into here. And this is filled with big piles of rock that have completely revegetated, but it's clearly, material that was pushed off the edge of the site a long time ago, possibly prior to the inland wetlands establishment. So, I think that my hypothesis for this is that just when George Mallia was doing it, potentially there were some small wetlands or something in this area that we'll never know. And he just drew the line right across. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I mean, kind of reconstructing it through what Ian Cole, it makes sense to me that this has been here for a long time, that this fill has been in place for a long time. And, in the field, I agreed on the boundaries. The area that Mr. Sherwood was talking about is in here with the rock. And so there's a stream right here, this black line here. And so there is some rock being pushed in here, but, and he acknowledged that, that could be something that the site restoration could tackle after the full report is done. And, they still need to, there's a requirement to present the existing operation before planning and zoning, and they would need a plan that integrated, what the wetlands were on site and need a wetlands report for that. So it's my understanding that that'll all be handled at the same time.
Yes.
Dealing with all that stuff. But, we wanted to look at this restoration first. or to look at this potential encroachment first into the wetlands and, again, if you have any questions, I know Clint Webb is on as well. I don't know if he was going to present additionally.
No, mostly I was, trying to be available if for any questions or historic things, but I think between, David and Nate, you covered it pretty well. This, this is overgrown in so many places that there was actually a motocross track.
Yeah, we walked that.
Yeah,
We
and
remember that.
there's some pieces of it are visible, but a lot of it's just grown over. And I think, yeah, but that goes all the way to the southern part. We walked the southern part last Thursday, and and we found some pieces of it there. So it went pretty far down. I actually expected to find where what they call the dips and swoops, actually the low spots where they have to dive in, and you make them low so it does fill up with rainwater occasionally, and you have to go through that. And so I was really expecting, when Ian and I were looking at this originally, to find little pockets, because there's plenty of wetland plant seeds available on the periphery of the site. So, but we really didn't find that to be the case. So we're starting this week, Thursday, on the southern portion of the site. When we have that completed and the survey actually surveyed on and topo, we're gonna have a complete brand new, existing conditions plan as it is today. And as David had mentioned, that where our plan is, unless we get a slight delay in production or whatever, is to come back to you in January with a status of what the whole site looks like, but under the guise of doing a wetland map amendment application. So we'll actually have an application before you for that, for the next meeting, that includes all the existing condition and anything else that we find, that it might be a candidate for restoration on the rest of the site.
For the restoration or for the activity within the upland review area, we'll submit that with the wetlands boundary amendment. I think it's useful to keep in mind that there's no excavation here. This is a recycling facility, and although it's not pretty, it certainly serves a function because it prevents, or it helps reuse of a lot of asphalt and waste material. So, it does serve, I think, a valuable function.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually an environmentally positive thing, because it wasn't that long ago, all this material got put in landfills and just filled up landfills with stuff that, could be reused.
Some of it got pushed into the wetlands
Yeah.
Yeah.
over the past 50 years. So.
They don't use the water for anything, do they?
No, there's no
It's
washing.
still blocked off.
What's that?
Is the outlet still blocked off?
To this pond.
Yeah,
You
there
mean
used to be an outlet there that was blocked at one time.
I think, was it right there? Somewhere in
I
that
think so. It
area?
was right in that area someplace.
There's no activity in that area, so.
Yeah, there's nothing's going on. In the
Is that, are you talking about when we walked it?
When we walked.
That
there
time we
was
saw
there
that it was
a
blocked?
culvert.
Yeah, okay.
Is this is this perched above this, or is it all the same grade roughly? Do you remember? It was so long ago, I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Have you been out there before?
I walked
Yeah,
on
I'm just
different
curious.
side. One, I didn't
Okay.
go out there though.
Okay, I'm just curious.
It's
It's
kind of marshy and.
right, kind of transitions back and forth. Yeah, and I guess one other piece I will say is that in this area here, Ian did a bunch of test cores with me, and this whole area, which again was all marked as wetlands from the surveys. We were like in here and up into here, it all came back as, complete, like no modeling, just a mixed fill core, and then it hit bedrock that were at least highly compacted surface underneath that. So
How far down?
only there was
Wow.
only about this much topsoil there. And I mean, this is all kind of,
Is that like sandy? Is it sandy or it's just mixed?
it was pretty sandy. I mean, I think this whole site was a sand,
Yeah.
right, sand pit in here. So it is a lot of sand, but also just mixed sort of material.
It was farmed, I think it was an orchard, so
Yeah.
it was disturbed. It was disturbed before it got excavated, and then it got excavated, got further disturbed, so it's impossible to figure out, what the original situation.
Okay, so are we just taking all this information in today and waiting for the flow report?
Yes,
Okay,
Okay.
Just
we're
one
here to,
question, the access road there, the wetland boundary ends before the access road, correct? From what I see the proposed, the dashed line.
Well, it's showing it going right up against
Right up
the
against
causeway
it,
that's connecting the
Alright.
two.
So is that the end of the property line, that it doesn't go across the other side?
The other side is owned by whatever that company is. Yeah,
Okay.
they're right on the right on the trail there. So
Okay.
that's why it doesn't extend past there.
Okay.
It would definitely, on the other side, there's more, but the AJK is going to be doing more wetlands mapping to the south of this road here.
We're just gonna do it.
This is kind of, this area here was a priority. Yeah.
Okay.
so we're here to give you a progress report,
Mhm.
so that you know we're working on it.
Good.
We're under the season,
Yes.
correct?
Definitely helpful having
Looks good to
everything
me.
flagged.
What would it be appropriate to waive the, the violation, the cease and correct, or I'm just gonna keep that? I guess the bottom line is the planning and zoning wasn't gonna let them work in there, thinking it was wetlands.
Yeah, we told them they could work.
Right, we
Right.
said,
Okay.
we said it was okay,
Okay.
and then planning and zoning didn't like that.
They didn't like that?
No, they didn't like that.
So
We were too
Jeremy,
lenient.
yeah, Jeremy responded in writing that, P and Z, they didn't end up, there was no cease and desist or cease and correct order issued by planning and zoning, by
Right.
zoning. So this is the only one, and
Mhm.
as a part of your conditions, you allowed them to move through that area. It was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
no further processing in there, but you guys don't process back there anyway, so.
So is that
Oh,
all
okay.
right?
Oh, all right, in the vegetated area, Nate, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, along the edge of what the existing wetland was, that was what the order was. But if the Wetlands Commission allowed you to transit and move vehicles and kind of shuffle stuff around as long as there was no new stockpiles or processing happening here, which, I mean, if you do intend on doing that, I think the Wetlands Commission could rescind the order now, or they could vote on it, or, but if it doesn't impact them, I mean, I don't know if it's something that you're.
Are you working in there? Do you want?
We're not expanding in the areas anywhere we're going, so it's just, it's stable and steady. It's not expanding north, south, east, any direction. It's just the plain processing areas that have been
I
existing.
mean, I'm satisfied with the new wetlands boundary. Like if, I think you had multiple eyes on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could probably remove it then. I mean, yeah.
So I
mean, he's gonna sign off on this map.
Yeah.
So as long as the map doesn't change, that's the only.
Okay.
But you're done doing this, the survey in this portion, correct?
This survey's actually, the survey portion's still being done on that.
On the lower
flag-
section.
But the flagging is,
Okay.
the actual surveyor guys come in and then they do
Yeah.
the flag, they survey the flags and put it on an official map for us and all that.
And this map will be signed by both, not only the surveyor, but it'll also be signed by the Ian Cole, the scientist as well. So you have to, for map amendment, you need to have signatures on the plan.
Mhm.
So you'll be getting that official submittal for the January meeting.
Okay, so then my question is if we're removing a cease and
Yeah, where is
correct.
is there a border up there at all, or where is?
So it's not mapped, it's not shown on this. You have to look at the report that they just provided. So,
Okay, yeah.
it's beyond the limits of clearing. So you can kind of see, right, this edge here.
Yeah,
where
right there.
it
Yeah.
looks wetlandy.
Yeah.
There's a little finger of upland that extends into it. It kind of moves across here. So, I mean, this area in the back is, and this to the side, there's a large buffer. The closest it gets is this area right
Right,
over
so that's the
here.
only question I have is like, if we remove the cease and correct, are we not requiring any mitigation in the area where
Well-
the stone is in the stream?
So they still have to bring, yeah, I see what you're saying. So they still have to bring an application that needs to be approved by wetlands for planning and zoning. And I think that we're saying is that all of that can be addressed there. I think here, it's not like an imminent sort of threat. It's just,
It's not an issue to him. Why don't we just leave it on and don't clog the water?
just leave it.
Yeah.
He's not having an issue. If he's having an issue.
He's
with it
able
at
to
this
work.
point,
Okay.
we could work with it.
Yeah, okay.
If he doesn't care, I mean, there's no use for money in the water.
Well, that's fine. And planning and zoning, like I said, planning and zoning didn't issue a cease and
Oh, they
desist.
didn't, okay. I
So-
They have nothing to do.
So
with it.
there's nothing, so
Okay.
right now they have no orders or anything and they can operate
They can
under
operate.
this cease and desist, which doesn't impact how you're
No, not
operating.
currently, no.
Yeah. And if it did, then you could come back to the commission during this process.
It's
and-
an issue, and then we can come in and talk to
Okay.
you.
Right. They can call us. And we can-
All right, so we don't have to do anything at this.
And
meeting.
to clarify, Clint, so you're saying that you're expecting to have by the January meeting, that's
Yeah,
when,
so we would have to have
next update?
that, what's the date, for your new calendar for January?
I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, whatever that new date is, it's
Okay.
early in the month.
If you want us back in December, just let
Yeah.
Nate know and we'll come, but I don't, I mean, I think we're gonna be working.
Do you think, or,
That they need to come back in December?
yeah,
No,
I wouldn't recommend it.
I mean, if you can work and.
not unless you have an issue.
No,
Yeah.
but like I said, the actual surveys get taking place on the southern, I mean, on the northern half now, and as we flag, start Thursday, we'll just continue with the surveyors
Yeah.
down, so we'll have that whole thing all prepared for you.
All right.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks,
Very
Clint.
often we
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Nate, did my video show up? Or is
It
that me,
didn't.
that blank thing?
It's locked. I don't know what's going on with it, but
Okay.
we could hear it loud and clear, so no issue there.
Okay, I've been having a problem with other Zooms where I don't show up, but
Yeah, showing like a
I'm a
lock.
digital dinosaur, so I have trouble with this. All right, have a great night.
No problem. Yeah, you too.
Just a question, how does this get documented into the records?
So right now they're basically, they don't have an application or they don't have a permit to be
So
operating
this is
there.
just information.
Yeah, it's like.
This
permit
is
system.
just, this is just for you to say, well, I think there's a problem here, to direct them and to show that like they're working at
Yeah.
maximum speed
Okay.
Right.
to get this done and they're not delaying
Oh, right.
anything. So, and like I said, the visit went really well. Ian Cole has presented a lot of projects to us. So,
Good.
yeah, I think it was just a potential map error from
Mhm.
George
Way back,
Malia
yeah.
or, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, but at this point it's hard to construct and I
Mhm.
think that the evidence is more pointing it to be, you know,
Not
a
wetland,
disturbed
wasn't
site the
wetland,
whole
yeah.
time
Yeah.
and that there's actually a pretty nice buffer.
Sure.
So at Kakiewicz, they said that the, these kinds of spaces where it's like old quarries that are sand pits, that's all, reptile.
Great
reptile
turtle
habitat,
nesting
yeah.
habitat, yeah.
reptile, egg laying habitat, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, all this, there will be some, I don't know what's gonna come back for the application for whatever, for this. So they need to get an application to continue what they're
Yeah.
doing, but they're also looking to transition. That's where we were having all those conversations about an order or an agreement to transition and that all fell through. So they're just
Yeah.
back to
Right,
just
and
getting
they're
this
trying to
permitted.
get Another company in, right?
Right. And so they want to put like manufacture, it's zoned industrial and they want to put manufacturing in here.
Yeah.
This opens them up. You
A
know,
little more
it's great that
space.
they weren't like laying on this map that was restricting them. This kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, opens them up
Yeah.
more. So,
They probably got more money for it.
well, they didn't,
For sure, there's a lot more usable acreage.
definitely. And they were kind of trying to go cheap on the mapping component for their
Right.
existing permit, but it was kind of holding them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're better off. We're all better off.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now they're actually doing something. Usually they come in and give you a song and dance when they do the updates, and then it's another 6
Yeah, it's good.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're doing all right. Okay, next staff report, enforcement update.
So 2904 Winston Road, that's the Frigale property. There's this all started a long time ago, but most recently I issued a show cause cease and correct order on March 3rd because they had violated their existing permit. They were spin a pipe here. I can
Yep.
even, let me get a map up for this. Still on Winston Road. What am I looking for? Yeah, there. Am I in the wrong direction? Why am I blanking here?
Oh.
They're here. Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So while ago, there was a stream that ran through here. And so they applied for a permit from this commission to pipe a portion of the stream so that they could access, this is a separate parcel from this, so that there could be connection here, but a very short portion, maybe about this long. That's what they got their permit for, and there was some restoration that they did as compensatory. So they've instead filled another 75 feet beyond the piping section that they said, and they never built the compensatory storage area, and they just expanded their pile into that area on top of the pipe. So I issued a cease and correct order, ordering them on March 3rd to come to the March meeting. They didn't come to the meeting, probably because they didn't get the mailing in time, but the commission upheld the cease and correct order requiring that they come in and basically redo all their plans here, because this was kind of an effort to deal with this issue, but there's unresolved sort of floodway, wetlands issues all around the property. And this is an opportunity to get the whole thing permitted, so that we can enforce this better. They engaged or continue to engage with Bill Colby, who does a lot of work, local engineer. Since then, Bill came on pretty much right after the show cause. We've had nothing. And I've been talking to him again and again. Bill, you got to get the application. Bill, oh, I'm really busy. This happened, that happened. I sent a follow-up letter on July 25th saying we've not received your permit application. If we don't get another one by October 1st, citations will begin at $100 a day. Because we had just recently passed the citation ordinance, and that usually gets people going. I talked to Bill last week, and I was like, Bill, are you gonna get an application in? And he's like, I just got so swamped. And I was like, just get something, anything in. It doesn't have to be, it can be grades, and like, you could just work over the course of your statutory limit to get it done over 3 months or whatever. Oh, I'll get it in your name. I haven't heard anything from him. So with the commission's permission, and I hate to do this because it's it's the engineer that's holding things up. However, he was warned over
Right.
6 months ago,
Yeah.
and if your engineer is not working, you kind of got a new engineer.
You're obliged to get it.
And I've been trying to keep him in the loop. I've been talking mostly to Bill Colby, but he did get this letter, and I did talk to him in March, and I've been telling Bill to communicate to him that if he can't do it, he's got to tell his client that he can't do it, because he's going to get his client's going to get penalized. So if the commission is would mind taking a motion to direct me to issue citations.
Yes, that's good. I
Um,
think this has been going on, thing has been going on for years.
This is probably a dumb question, but what do the Fragales do on that property?
So they're pavers. So they
Oh,
do
the-
paving,
Like you see in the side, where they're doing people's driveways?
right?
Oh, I thought those guys were out of Waterbury.
No, they operate out of here, and his dad had the business, and now he has the business. But my understanding with this pile is that some of it is like pieces of broken up,
What they did the last
blacktop and
time,
stuff,
they-
and
the father started bringing it in. And then they had a crusher. They bring a crusher in every month or two, couple of months, and then they'd crush it. And they'd sell it back to the other pavers for underlayment before they put the blacktop down. That's what the
Oh.
father was doing.
Right.
And he had piles in the wetlands and stuff, and we met Colby there.
Mhm.
I think we've been there twice.
How long ago was that?
Colby was, well, Jeremy was the forest.
Okay.
manager, yeah.
Well, that was,
And then
that was
before
this,
that
that-
wasn't
Before
that
that,
long.
it was Kim.
It was Kim, okay.
it was Kim, and that was this. So this area here,
Yeah.
you can see looks like young forest.
Yeah.
That was a restoration that was mandated by Army Corps of Engineers because
Yeah.
they had cleared into the floodplain, the floodway.
They
And-
got that illegal, ridge there too.
Right, and so this whole area they had to reforest, which, looks pretty natural to me
Yeah.
now, but that's all, they had to actually like pay someone in fencing and like installing all the plants and all that. This bridge is also not permitted. It's in the floodway. It's not raised high enough, so it's a impediment to flow here. So he's like flat out. I mean, every time I talk to him, he's like, "I'm never getting rid of that bridge, Nate." It's like, well, I don't know. The Army, you have a consent order from Army Corps, and I don't think but I basically just am like, get us a plan, and then we can tell you whether or not it works or not. But you're gonna need Army Corps is gonna need to be involved in that because that was never addressed, and he has access through another bridge here.
Yeah.
So it's like, just use the other entrance. Like, like you still have access to this side. And he did have piles in there. It's a mess in there. I mean, I when I first saw this, I actually walked around the back through the highway, and it's
real bad looking from that side.
it's yeah, like coming in this way, you could see all these piles. I mean, this is the river here, so all these piles are just like unrestrained, right? And it's just stuff sloughing into the river and stuff like that. So that's why the whole thing does need we need to look at every section to make sure it's all stable and if there needs to be some kind of restoration or buffer or mafia blocks or whatever that needs to be installed. So anyway, so that's the deal with this. So I mean, if you make a motion to recommend or direct me to issue citations. that would be helpful.
So I move that we direct Nate to issue citations on 2904 Winston Road, the Forgalley property.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, good.
Other two projects, stop sharing, 446 Newfield Road. Pigs are gone. The restoration has been completed to my satisfaction.
Really?
They went in there and
What did
they
do?
they got a backhoe, a small like rental
Oh,
unit.
this is the pile of do.
The pile
Okay, okay.
do, that's correct. And
Okay.
they pulled most of it back. They got stuck. They didn't get stuck in the wetland, thank God. But they got kind of close and there's like a tiny bit that they didn't excavate at the very end that the boom couldn't reach. And I said,
Forget it.
I don't think
Yeah,
going in
it'll
there
be-
is we're gonna turn this,
Yeah.
but they even put up the hay bale, the straw bales.
Oh, really?
Yeah, along the
I've
edge.
been driving by like often because I'm with my kids work in I keep looking up at all of the pallets up at the.
Oh, that's a
the-
whole nother,
Yeah.
it's a,
That's not our problem.
they're like burning all those and I don't know.
Is
it's
that what
really-
they're doing? Okay.
Yeah, she
Lot of
installed like a wood boiler in her basement and they're just,
Oh, so they're using that for, okay.
whatever, at least they're not burning outside in this weather. But anyway, yeah, I inspected it. They put up all the signage that we asked them to put up. They put the straw bales up. You can see the excavation mark on the tree
Yeah.
because the tree is dead because they
Right,
buried
they
it.
buried it, yeah.
And there's about this much material that they removed. And
Yeah.
it looks like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have cow bones or whatever he said there was in it, but you can tell where it hits. where it hits grade. No, there's no- There's no,
What did they do with the pigs?
so what
Did the
happened?
state come in?
No, so what happened was our corporation counsel is a very serious guy and he was like, I got the slaughterhouse lined up. They were gonna do Plymouth meats and bring them all to Plymouth meats. And
Yeah.
once he went to court and he got legal possession of all the pigs through a contempt filing. And they gave him the permission. He said, I'm coming on Monday. And all the people across, like they sounded the rescue
Oh,
alarm and all the people who said, oh, we don't have room, they all came
They
and
got 'em.
and they found a room, and they all were gone and they have one left. It's a indoor permitted therapy
Like a
pig.
potbelly? Like a
Yeah,
potbelly
potbelly.
pig?
Yeah. And now she's like cranking, and she get like is taking care of the blight stuff. All the pallets are disassembled now.
Wow.
They're spreading all that manure up to regrade. It's stable enough. It's not going back into the
Right.
wetland, but there's some guy out there with like a hand rake, like.
Citations, the $300,000. Are they still owe that, or is it gonna be forgiven? Like, what happens? Yeah.
Those people don't have any money.
No.
I know, I know.
Well,
but I mean,
so-
like, so
And this is a little off of, I kind of
Off
recorded
topic.
meeting, but the process would be for them to submit a request for a citation waiver.
Mm.
And then it would go to like kind of a subcommittee that, like the lawyer, corporation counsel, our city attorney and our department, and we would, basically see if we want to do some kind of partial waiver. Usually we don't do a full waiver for that kind of thing, but like at least to cover our costs for all the
Right.
administrative time for
Right.
being in there. So
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see what happens.
Thanks for the info.
Yep. So that's with that one. And then 87 Eagle Ridge, I thought I would bring this up. That one has been a huge pain.
At the lawn again?
That was the lawn one. The landowner was fighting it. I'll show you what it looks like now. Getting a little lost in here. Here we are. So here's the wetland boundary. And you can see this is the final. See these restoration areas? So we oriented them like planting beds. There is some mowed area between them still. I'm like, I just got like, it wasn't, I couldn't fight it anymore. It'll all end up growing in anyway.
Worried about like a tree too close to the foundation, wrecking that kind of stuff? Was that the?
No,
that
no,
kind of person?
this is a person who, the original developer came in here, Dave Alfano, and he like knocked the whole thing down. Like the site guy just cleared the whole thing.
Okay.
Then they threw the house up and there was like a stockpile here and they had to do this huge restoration around the entire perimeter of the house.
Okay.
And, there was all this back and forth. Remember, they wanted to do the boulders and then they were going to do the
Okay,
fence
okay,
and,
okay, yeah.
and we kind of settled on shrubs to demarcate the boundaries there and they planted some extra trees.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point,
So it's gonna be like a glade. It's gonna be mowed.
this is, the interior of them are not going to be mowed, but there's like kind of a little paths
I
through
see.
them
Okay,
so they can maintain around them. And I
Okay.
thought,
all right.
I'm not gonna fight this battle forever on this little lot where, the guy waters them faithfully and
Okay.
there's all like restoration, high quality Ernst, hundreds of dollars restoration mix that he had to do like 10 times because he kept on doing grass and pretending like he wasn't doing grass. And, so anyway, so that one,
That's the right mix now? Or
I was
just-
there with them, and this guy who lives here is such a pain in Dave Alfano's butt that I think that he was like, I got to do this, and he's like, I'm never going to develop a wetlands lot ever again after this experience. So, anyway,
So it's like good enough to
Yeah.
pass.
yeah. I mean, because sometimes if there's like a little trail or something in there, the commissions, I'm just like, I'm not, whatever. Lots like the lesson is when a subdivision my recommendation. Never allow that in a subdivision if we get another subdivision application.
I can't remember which one it was. Was it the over 55? I can't, it was something newish.
The Cider Mill Crossing one.
Maybe. It went in the East End. And all there was like a little finger of wetlands.
Yeah.
That they put a property on. And we were like, whatever. I
Yeah.
guess I don't remember, but they ended up the owner had to have a pump going 24 hours a day because that finger was just pumping water into their basement constantly.
Hmm.
So it was like they had they ended up having a stream through their basement, basically.
That's the thing. It
And,
doesn't help.
and then I thought that then, like, why would, it's not like it's great for the owner. It's not great for anybody.
Right, the developer gets another lot out of it. But anyway, so that's all I have. 2 agent determinations. 490 Riverside Ave, they have a shed next to the Naugatuck River in the Upland Review area, and 210 Mountain Road, agricultural equipment barn in the Upland Review area. Interestingly enough, this is the neighbor to Stephen Mazzarelli. And we're talking about where the water's going on his property.
Yes.
That guy, he's putting a large equipment barn up there. It's really questionable if that's even wetland.
All right.
All right.
Next is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Short and sweet.
Okay.
Yep.
So some news. We're getting a new secretary finally.
Was that the one, did he steal her from Thomaston? Was that the girl?
Stole her from
It's
the
me.
commission.
Oh, really? Oh, it's
Yeah.
you.
It's me.
The one from Thomaston, like, well, there was a bunch of people. It was a long process. But yeah, so Christine will be taking minutes and being a commissioner. They said it was okay for her to be a commissioner and
That's
do
good.
it.
I didn't know if they mentioned.
Congratulations.
Oh, no, if something gets screwed up, we only have to blame one.
That's right. The
Hey.
buck stops with me.
You know what? You can always still blame me. That option is always available, so.